tend to usually go, hi Nuggie. I usually go with Nuggie. That's the genre book that I choose. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Rochelle. I read a variety of books and I also have a disability, and today what we're gonna do is go over my picks for the Romantasy bingo. Now, this is a year-long challenge that covers what Cassidy made, and I was kind of going back and forth on it. I tend to read a lot of fantasy and horror books. I don't always gravitate towards fantasy or romantasy. However, looking at my bookshelves, I do have a lot of fantasy books as well as romantasy, and one of my goals, especially for the year of 2026, is going and reading a lot more books that I have on my shelves. And the fact that this is a year-long bingo just makes it really accessible for me. I'm also doing Wicked Reading, aka Sarah's horror bingo board as well, and for that one I'm doing it in hard mode. I'm not quite sure with the romantasy one yet if I'm going to stick with easy mode or try to go and push myself and go for the hard mode. It really depends. Some of the books that I have picked out already 100% should work for the easy mode, but a few of them might be a little bit of a stretch when it comes to hard mode. So with that being said, let's go and look through a lot of the books that I picked. With these, probably one of the hardest pieces was the fact that we're only supposed to use one book per author, and I didn't necessarily realize how many books I have by the same author when it comes to romantasy books. So going off of the first row, starting from left to right, we start off with new release. So for this one, easy mode is one that is published in the year you read it, and the hard mode is it's a debut author. For this one, I do have a book that works for easy mode 100%, Ruinous Creatures by Jessie Cole Jackson. This is one that I received from Atria. It is an ARC, and it actually releases next year, so we only have a few months left in this year, so reading this book in 2026 would be pretty doable, although I have been really wanting to go and read this book possibly during winter break because my job gives us a week off for winter. Unfortunately, I don't believe this book is the author's debut novel, so this one wouldn't work for hard mode, unfortunately, which is definitely a bummer, but I do have another option for this one, and that would be Metal Slinger by Rachel Snyder. And this one has been a book that everyone has been talking about. I feel like anywhere I looked on Instagram and the few times that I went over on Book Talk, everyone was talking about this book. However, this is not one that I've picked up quite yet, but I do have some credits with Everand, and I am kind of thinking about going and picking it up. And speaking of Everand, I just wanted to go and take a moment to say thank you so much to Everand for being so kind to sponsor this video. I have been using Everand for at least 6 months now, and I've honestly loved using this app. It is so user-friendly, and I do love the option of going and getting 1 credit or 3 credits depending on what really fits my needs for that month and how many books I'm going and consuming. So with this app, it is super easy to go and use. You can go and bookmark a lot of the books that you're interested in potentially taking a look at. And for me, the one obviously that I would like to read is Metal Slinger. So I'm just gonna go and put that one in there and go over to the audiobook, and you're able to go and take a look at the book, and you can go and easily go and play a sample of it. Maybe the narrator isn't really one that fits what you're interested in, so you can play a sample before you decide to go and get that title. But if you decide that you would like to unlock that title, simply go and press unlock. And I do like the way that it goes and asks you a couple of times, because I've been known to go too fast when doing things and misclick. And the title has been unlocked successfully. So Metal Slinger is the one that I'm definitely thinking about reading for this prompt. So now that I have Metal Slinger there, this is a book that I can easily go and listen to and complete this prompt for. I just would need to go and finish it this year in order for it to count. If you're interested in checking out Everand, I will go and leave my affiliate link down below in the description as well as in the comment. Clicking my link just goes and supports me, especially if you're thinking about going and trying out a different audiobook app. This is one that I would highly recommend, and like I said, I've been using it for 6 months now, and I've really been enjoying it. So definitely go and check it out if you're wanting to go and switch to a different audiobook app. You can also, aside from listening to audiobooks, also pick up ebooks as well as podcasts through Everand as well. Then moving on to the next spot, we have Hidden Identity, and then hard mode is Not Royalty. This one I feel like is a bit of a stretch. I went with A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwen. I got the ARC for this book and then ended up having to go and pick up my own copy because I love the spray edges on this book. I know I've mentioned this book quite a few times because I've really been wanting to read it, and I know that the next book comes out next year. I know that there's some hidden powers or powers that the main character didn't necessarily know about, so I don't know if that would be a stretch for Hidden Identity, but as far as I know, the character is not royalty, so this might be a stretch, but this is currently the book that I'm thinking for this spot. Then moving on to the next spot, we have Take Down the System, and this one is a plot that revolves around a rebellion. Hard mode is a dystopian setting. I did not struggle with this one at all because I have currently been working on rereading the Hunger Games series, and the next book I need to read is Catching Fire. And the reason why I'm rereading the series is because there's some prequels that have come out, such as Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunrise of the Reaper. I think I'm saying that right. My brain's a little bit foggy. It's still in the morning and my Earl Grey tea has yet to kick in, but I am working on rereading the Hunger Games series because I want to go and refamiliarize myself with that world before diving into the prequels. As far as I know, rereads are not vetoed from doing for the Romantasy bingo board, so this is my choice. But if I happen to go and quickly read through the other books and start reading the prequels, I will go and put the prequels on the board instead, just so I can have a new book that I haven't read for the first time on my bingo board. Then we have BIPOC author. And for hard mode, this has to be one that has flowers on the cover. Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tully, and I have not read this book yet by this author. I remember so many people were raving about it for the longest time, and I was able to go and snag the first 3 books on Book Outlet, and I've been really wanting to go and read this series, so the fact that this goes and counts for the bingo board is just kind of showing one of my goals with going and doing this. It's really helping me go and pick up a lot of books that I've had on my bookshelves that I've really been wanting to read, but because I don't always gravitate towards romantasy or fantasy, it's not always easy for me to go and pick them up, so having a challenge like this will really help push me to go and achieve those goals. Then the last one on this row is first person. This has to be a new to you author. So the one that I'm picking for this one is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. I have yet to go and read this book. It's one that so many people have talked about, and I did go and get this gorgeous version from Atria, and I've been really wanting to go and read this one. I feel like I'm probably going to have it on my 10 before the end, just anything I can to try to give myself that challenge to go and finally pick this book up and read it. I know that so many people love it, and they said that they just consumed the book so quickly and also experienced a variety of emotions, and I do really love whenever I read books that make me feel all the emotions, take me on that roller coaster ride, so I think I'm finally mentally ready to go and do that and dive into this book. Then we're moving on to the next row, which is row 2, and that is Blank of Blank. So for this one, I ended up going with an example that Cassidy mentioned because she said that the hard mode has to be not fae for it, and I want to say she also said this one was kind of leaning a little bit towards fae, but as far as I remember, this would count for hard mode. I did go and pick this one up because I loved the sprayed edges. So this is Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. I've been wanting to read this one for the longest time. I feel like I've had so many friends that have read this, but I've just kind of been not in the mood to pick it up because it is a thicker book, and like I said, I tend to do more horror and thriller type of books, so I am excited to finally get the chance to read this and experience what everyone has been talking about with it. Indie to Trad Pipeline. So book series with indie published but was picked up traditionally. Hard mode is a sequel. So one I have right now currently is Anathema. I have yet to read this book, but I'm in the Dungeons and Book Dragons readathon, and I am co-hosting Team Druids with Ivy, and this has been a book that I've been wanting to read, and I was kind of telling myself I was going to wait until November to go and start reading it. So this would be perfect for easy mode. I know that the sequel has already been published, I think, by the time I'm filming this video. So if I'm sticking with easy mode, this book would definitely count. However, if I want to go for hard mode, then I can pick up the other one. But I know that this has already been picked up by a traditional publisher, so I'm not quite sure if the sequel would count for it. I'd have to go and do a little bit more deep diving, but I am really excited to read this. I've had so many people talk about it, and it's been on my radar for the longest time. I know that this is like gothic and more like horror romance, which is definitely more so up my alley than more of the fae type of romantasy books. So very excited to finally read this book, and it's a chonker, so this could take me a hot minute, but would give me so many points for Team Druid, which is something I am here for because I am very competitive. Then we go over to Rep Matters, and I feel like this one was super easy for me because I do have a lot of books by BIPOC authors, books that have disability representation of some sort, and so this I kind of felt like I had the pick of my bookshelves for. One that I have been meaning to read for the longest time is Lure of the Wilds by Annalise Sabrana. And for hard mode, this had to be a book by Own Voices, so this 100% would count. Plus, this would also be a book that I'm planning on picking up at some point for the Dungeons and Book Dragons readathon. So, you know, just kind of crossing off multiple boxes for goals that I'd like to complete. So yeah, this is one that I would love to read. I believe I have the Owl Crate version, and then I have the second book, which I got from Satisfiction. But I'm excited to read this one. I just think that it is so beautiful. I love the art style on the cover, and I believe there's a little bit of spice in these books as well, which was not something I expected when I originally picked up these books. So I can't wait to go and start reading this and also get points from this for Team Druid. Then the next spot on the board is Start a New Series, but hard mode, author writes in multiple genres. So this book that I have, I feel like is a little bit of a stretch because it's more of a paranormal romance, but that is Soul Searching by Lila Sage. This is a book that I picked up I think last month, and I've been really excited to go and read this. I know this author also has cowboy romances, so although it's not per se a different genre, I feel like it's a different subgenre, if that makes sense, because the other books that she's written are cowboy romances. This is a paranormal romance, so I feel ultimately I could be stretching with this one. I know that I have a few other books that potentially could work for this, like Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. But the thing is, I've been trying to lean away from certain authors, especially if there's a lot of contradictory things said about them. So if I were to read that one, it's probably one that I wouldn't really talk about too much on the channel, because I would rather go and talk about other authors that don't have a lot of contradictory things said about them and deserve a lot of love as well. So that's just one of my personal things. So this one could be one that I could read, or I could read that other one I mentioned, but if I do, I'm not really going to talk about it. I'll just kind of say something brief about the fact that that filled a spot on my board. Just a personal thing on my end. Then the last spot on this board is Urban Setting. Hard mode is a secondary world, so not ours. So one of the books that I have picked out for this is Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair. This one I've been meaning to read for the longest time because I believe it's a Lilith retelling, and Has Been Hotel is going to be coming out with their second season in November. And I don't know why, but just reading the description of this book really gives me Has Been Hotel vibes. So I'm so excited to check this one out. There's also a snake on the cover, and one of the things for Team Druids for the Dungeons and Book Dragons readathon is animal on the cover, animal companion. So I feel like this would be one that would also get me some points as well. So this is one that I'm planning on reading for the month of November, and since this Romantasy bingo starts November 1st, that is going to be something that is really easy for me to go and check off as well. So it's not going and putting me too far out of the way because I'm already planning on reading quite a few books for this. Hi, Finn. Hi. Not too many people have seen Finn in the videos. So I actually have 3 cats, but Finn is one of the ones that really hates cameras. He's very camera shy. So yeah, I have 3 cats. He's the elusive Finn that not everyone is able to see. Which is such a shame because you're so beautiful. You got these beautiful blue eyes. He's my first rescue, so I love him so much. He's not quite happy that he has a lot of animal siblings, though. He wanted to be an only child. Okay. Thank you, Finn. Thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time, Bubba. Yeah, thank you. Then let's move on to the third row. And third row is Ghosts and Ghouls. Hard mode is Love Interest is One. So this is one that I was really excited that Cassidy ended up going and mentioning, because I finally picked up my own copy of it and I've been so excited to read it. And that is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I've heard nothing but good things about this one. I believe some people kind of mentioned that it reminded them of Danny Phantom and had Danny Phantom themes, and that was a show that I really loved growing up. I've really been leaning into a lot of nostalgia, especially this year since it's been a little bit of a dumpster fire, so anything that gives me reminders of my childhood and those less stressful times is very much appreciated. So I'm excited to finally get the chance to read this one, and also check off a spot on the bingo board for it, because I would like to go for a blackout bingo board, whether that is in easy mode or hard mode. Blacking out a bingo board is the really fun part and such a fun challenge, and especially since this is a year-long challenge, it is going to be a lot more doable for me to do, as long as I don't get a little bit squirrel-brained and forget that I'm doing this challenge. A Voice Inside Your Head, hard mode, not an animal companion. So the one that I am picking is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is the second book. The first book was One Dark Window, and with One Dark Window, she did have a voice in her head. I believe it was like more of a ghost, paranormal, demon type of thing, and I've been really wanting to continue on with this duology and finally finish it. I'm really bad at finishing duologies or finishing book series, so that is another goal that I'd like to achieve in 2026. So I felt like this would be great to go and have it on the bingo board so that I can not only fill that spot for hard mode if I want to go that route, but also go and complete a personal goal for myself. Next is Friend Wreck, hard mode, from Cassidy's channel. So right away I saw in the background of her video that she had Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. This is one that I have been wanting to read for the longest time. I'm a bit of a nerd. I love RPG games, and my fiance also is running a new D&D campaign, and so reading Dungeon Crawler Carl at this time of the year is just the perfect timing. So I would really like to go and read this one for November. It also counts because there is an animal companion, so that works for Team Druid as well. As you can see, I like going and accomplishing multiple things at once. I think it very much could be because I'm a Capricorn, and Capricorns tend to be a little bit of workaholics, so going and achieving multiple goals just fulfills that little itch for me, and I love it so much. I don't think Dungeon Crawler Carl is a romantasy, but I mean, Cassidy does have it on her bookshelf behind her. I think she even mentioned it at one point in her video as well, so I'm gonna say that counts. Plus I have so many other friends that have recommended this book and have been pushing me to read it, so it has to be done. I need to read it. Then we have Book Talk hype, and then hard mode is still indie at the time of you reading it. So I'm just gonna go with The Master's Trial by Michelle and Haygood. I think I'm saying that right. I think I've been saying Haygood, but I think it's Haygood instead. This is an author friend that I kind of made after going and meeting her at Barnes & Noble and then going to the Springs Book Bash, and I've been really meaning to go and pick up her book. I know the third book comes out soon, possibly next year, so I would like to read this one. I've been a little bit intimidated by it because this is a chunky book. It has 763 pages, so I've been a little bit intimidated by this, but Michelle goes and talks about this book all the time on her Book Talk account, so I'm gonna say that counts because it has been talked about on there. I know I need to be a little bit better and actually use my Book Talk account and talk about books a little bit more on there. I'm just chatty and I love doing long form content and not so much the short form, but after I read it, I will go and talk about this book more on Book Talk, as well as the first book too, so I'm just gonna count it because it has been talked on Book Talk. Forbidden Romance, hard mode, not enemies to lovers. I'm gonna go with Never the Roses by Jennifer K. Lambert. This was a book that I picked up on bookshop.org because I fell in love with the sprayed edges. I thought this was so beautiful. I believe this is also a debut, so this could potentially work on another spot on the board. It kind of feels like it's forbidden lovers because this main character does seem to be falling for an enemy or someone that people are afraid of. So I'm gonna go and count this one for the spot, and I'm excited to read it. It's not too thick of a book, and like I said, it's absolutely beautiful. I don't think anyone has talked about this one, so I'm very curious to go and check it out for myself. Moving on to row 4, we have Trials. Hard mode is an academic setting. I'm gonna go with The Library at Hellbore by Cassandra Call. I know this one is in an academic setting. From what I've read in the description, it's hard to know for sure if this one is a trial exactly, so I would have to go and read this one and kind of find out for myself. I do have other books on my bookshelves as well as other books that are here that I've mentioned already, so if I have to go and mess around and wiggle a few things and place them on different spots, that could be doable, but for now this is the one that I'd like to place in this spot. 2+ love interest, hard mode, not a love triangle. The book that I have for this is one that won't release until next year, and that is Isles of Echoes by Alicia E. Anderson. And so the book that I'm holding up is actually the first book, The Enchanted Isles. This one kind of feels like more like a love square, so I feel like this would work because it doesn't necessarily seem like it's only 2 love interests. It kind of seems like it's multiple different people in it, and I've been absolutely obsessed with this series. I just read the second book I think a month or 2 ago, and I'm hoping that maybe I can go and get an arc for the third book when it comes out, because I've been lucky enough to get arcs for the 2 of the books, as well as another book series that she's making as well. So yeah, that is going to be the one that I'm picking 3, although the cover hasn't yet been designed and released at this moment. Then we have Single Point of View, and hard mode is published 5 or more years. I'm gonna go with Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I don't think this is exactly a romantasy, so this one could also be a stretch, but I've been really wanting to read this one for the longest time. I also do have an audiobook for it from Everand as well, and this is one that I've kind of felt like maybe I'm gonna do some tandem reading with, because I've heard a lot of really good things about the audiobook for this one. And this book would also count for hard mode because it was, I believe, published in around 2014. So this would work. It's just, I don't think it's really a romantasy, so a bit of a stretch for this one as well. Court setting, hard mode, animal on the cover. This one actually was surprisingly easy for me, so I went with The Scorpion Queen by Mina Fierce. And this one has a scorpion here on the bottom. I have a special edition of it, but I know that the regular edition also has a scorpion on it as well. There are trials in this book, so this would go and count as well. This is one of the books that kind of made me realize that I do have quite a few young adult books on my shelves, which there's nothing wrong with it. I love the nostalgia that reading YA brings because that was a much simpler time, but I do want to go and read more adult books. So this book was kind of one of those that made me realize, like, oh yeah, I am picking up a lot of YA books. One, because they have gorgeous covers, but number 2, because of the nostalgia and just like the easiness that YA brings with a much simpler time. But this is the one that I'm thinking about reading for this spot. I feel like this one would be a very quick read. It's not too thick at all. And I've heard some mixed reviews on it, so I'm very curious to see what my own thoughts are for this book. Whole New World. Main character is transported somewhere new, aka Portal Fantasy. And then hard mode is a retelling or reimagining. I had the hardest time with this one, and I know Cassidy was mentioning that she unintentionally made this spot so difficult, and she's not wrong. I had a few options that I was like, oh, these are retellings, but then I realized they weren't Portal Fantasy. No one was getting brought into a different world, so then I had to go and look, and I have quite a few books that I've read already, but I've been kind of wanting to reread them, and one of those books is Goddess of the Rose by PC Cast. This is actually a Beauty and the Beast retelling. These books were some that I loved so much. A lot of the books that were kind of in this series were books that the main character was kind of dealing with some really rough moments and then switches place with a goddess or some fantasy character and realizes like how powerful she is in being a woman and all of those pieces. And that was something that I really loved, especially as someone growing up and dealing with a lot of insecurities and a lot of things where social media is telling women to be a certain way. So these books were some pivotal reads at that period of time in my life, and I have been really wanting to go and revisit them and also see if maybe they aged well. I know the House of Night series was one that hasn't exactly aged too well, but still has a lot of nostalgia for a lot of people, and I've been wanting to reread that one as well because I haven't actually finished reading the entire series, but I'm getting on a tangent. It is one that would be a reread for me, but it would 100% count for the spot because it is a portal fantasy and also is a retelling. All right, now we're on row 5. This is the last row on the board, and we have Reluctant Allies to Lovers. Hard mode is A Marriage of Convenience. Okay, I did not realize hard mode for this one, so this one would actually not count for hard mode, but for Allies to Lovers, the easy mode, this one would. So this is Blood Marked by Tracy Dion. This kind of has a little bit of a love triangle piece in it, and this is the second book. First book is Legendborn. There are some other characters that seem more like enemies to our main character, but also there's this hidden attraction for them as well. So this was why I picked it up for this spot, but I did not realize that there was a marriage of convenience. So this one would not work for hard mode. It probably would work for another spot on the board. So I might have to go and look at a few things and see if I can rearrange some pieces if I wanted to go and black out the board with hard mode. One word title, hard mode is Gothic, and I have an arc. So this is Deathbringer by Sonia Tagliarini. I don't think I'm saying that right, so I'll hold it closer so you can see it. But this is an arc I got from Atria, and it actually releases in February of next year. This has a lot of dark academia vibes, some necromancy, forbidden love, twisty murder mystery, so I feel like this is pretty gothic. This has been one that I've really wanted to read. I got a few arcs recently from Atria that I'm just like, I need to find a reason to go and read this sooner rather than later. So this is one that I'm gonna go and pick for this spot on the board. I just think the cover is so enticing, and having this on my bingo board will give me an extra reason to go and read this book even sooner. Shifter romance, hard mode, Not Wolves, and I'm gonna go with Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. And I think, at least if the Ghibli movie is following things correctly, Howl does go and shift into like this demon bird crow thing, and so hopefully that's the case with the book as well. But I have been wanting to read this one. Ivy and I have talked about doing this as a buddy read as well, and hopefully this one will count for one of the side quests or main quest for the Dungeons and Book Dragons readathon. So this is one that I've had on my list, and I thought would be pretty great if I could get something to work on the Romantasy bingo board. So this is the book that I'm currently thinking of reading, because if I do hard mode, this one, as far as I know, isn't a shifter wolf romance, so hopefully this one would work. Last two spots on the board. First one we have is Weapon on the Cover, hard mode, powerless main character. I hope this one would work. I know Cassidy mentioned it quite a few times, but I had different books for those spots. But there is a weapon on the cover and everything, so hopefully the main character is powerless, so that this could work for hard mode. But this is a book that I've been thinking about for this spot because it's another book that I've had for quite some time on my bookshelves. Last spot on the board is a chunky series, a series that's 4 or more books. We can read any book in the series. Hard mode, the world series is interconnected with another. Think Cosmere, but Romantasy. So the one that I'm going to choose for this one is Shatter Me by Tara Maffei. The reason that I think this could work for hard mode, recently there was a prequel series, the first one being called Watch Me, and I know there's another one that's going to be coming out maybe next year, so I feel like this would potentially count because there's like multiple series and they're kind of together. So yeah, this would give me a reason to finally start the series. I've wanted to read it for the longest time. I missed reading it when I was younger, I think mostly because it had a different cover at that time, and I'm not really the type of person that likes reading books that have like a realistic person on the cover. I'd much rather read ones that have cartoon characters or something like that. Plus, I fell in love with the way the eyes look on the covers of these books. I just think it's so gorgeous and stunning. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have Shatter Me for the spot on the board. Those are all the spots that I have on my Romantasy bingo board. Some of them are a stretch, and then a few of them, as I'm realizing filming this, don't entirely work for hard mode, so I might need to go and watch a few other videos that people have made and see what books they have and if they're ones that I have on my bookshelves that could fit. But right now I'm pretty happy with a lot of the ones I've picked. Like I said, I'd really like to actually read more books on my bookshelves, especially the ones that I don't really touch, like the romantasy or fantasy books. So I feel like this will really help me go and achieve that goal. I'm really excited for trying this out. I'm glad that Cassidy made one that is a year-long bingo board. I think the year-long bingo boards are just so much more feasible to go and do, because sometimes going and doing one in a month is just really difficult, especially if you're dealing with a reading slump, and it's a lot harder to go and pick up books or even listen to an audiobook. And like I said, Everand did go and kindly sponsor this video, so if you're interested in going and checking them out, please think about going and using my link down below, either in the description or in the comments where I'll have it pinned, because I've been using them for a good portion of this year and I've really enjoyed using them so much. They have a lot of different books available. So let me know down in the comments below if you're planning on also doing this bingo board, and if you have any book recommendations for me that you didn't see me talk about during this video, because as you can tell, there's a few that I was really struggling with. And if you made it to this point in the video and you don't know what to comment, maybe go and leave like a snake or a serpent for terror at the gates. But as always, I want to remind you all that you're worthy and capable of amazing things. Bye, friends. Don't normally read fantasy. Nuggie just yawned. I tend to usually go, hi Nuggie. I usually go with Nuggie. That's the genre book that I choose. Yeah, I pick whatever Nuggie picks.